I, 26 male, and my girlfriend, 27 female. We met each other in college, when we were in the same calculus class. She was really smart, and I took the chance to ask her for help with some of our coursework. I was studying engineering and knew math better than she did. We flirted a bunch and ended up dating. We stayed together throughout our entire 4 years of undergrad. Later on, we both went to grad schools in the city, and even though we attended different schools, we lived together. I couldn't imagine my life without her. We had been together for a long time, and I saw a lot of my future with her. I wanted to propose, but I decided to wait until both of us were settled in our careers and really ready for that next big step. Her family lived in Texas, and we were in New York, so she didn't get to see them much. I met them a few times, but we weren't very close. She had a strong bond with her family and talked to them regularly. Although she missed them a lot, she was content living in the city. Then one evening, we received a surprise phone call from her mother. Her sister had a car accident and was in the ICU. As soon as she heard, she packed a bag and booked the next available flight to be with her. I wanted to go along, but we decided it would be better for me to stay behind for a day. This way, she could inform her workplace and arrange for someone to take care of our dog. I stayed back to handle things while she went ahead. During her flight home, her mother called me and delivered the devastating news that her sister had passed away. It broke my heart that I couldn't be there with her when she learned about the loss of one of her closest friends. They were so alike that people called them twins. My girlfriend was 2 years younger than her sister, but they looked so much alike. When my girlfriend arrived in Texas, people were struck by how identical they looked, and their voices sounded exactly the same. Her trip changed from visiting her injured sister to helping plan a funeral. I stayed in New York longer than planned at her suggestion. She wanted me to wait until they had a date set for the funeral. We couldn't afford much for dog boarding or a sitter, so the shorter my time away, the better. I called her frequently to check in while she was in Texas. As time passed, it seemed like she was coping better. There were times she didn't answer, but she'd text me back later, explaining she had been at her sister's house sorting through her things. Her sister, married to a guy we called Joe, seemed nice in the few times I met him, but he came across as superficial. He aimed for a big house, nice cars, and a perfect wife, and that's what he got. I always felt he wanted to marry my wife's sister because she fit the image of a trophy wife. I knew spending time at her sister's house meant being around him, but she was grieving. It never occurred to me that they might become involved romantically. Eventually, I flew down for the funeral and was finally reunited with my girlfriend. I missed my girlfriend a lot, and I felt guilty for not being there with her during her grieving process. At the wake, Joe struck up a conversation with me and mentioned how sometimes he saw her sister and my girlfriend. His gaze lingered on her longer than I found comfortable, but I didn't say anything considering he had just lost his wife. After the funeral, he kept bringing up how tough it was on my girlfriend and emphasized that I wasn't there. It felt like he was trying to make me feel guilty. A couple of days later, my girlfriend and I flew back to the city and tried to get things back to normal. However, she was still grieving, and many things upset her. I tried to be there for her, but she wouldn't let me help. When I attempted to comfort her or hold her at night, she turned away and didn't even want to hold my hand. I thought it was just her way of grieving and shutting me out because of it. One day, I came home from work and found her in our bedroom, trying on clothes she brought back from Texas. It turned out they were all her sister's belongings, things that Joe had purchased for her before she passed away. I noticed she was taking a lot of pictures of the clothes too. A few weeks later, she informed me that Joe was coming to visit and would be staying with us. He needed to leave their house, and since he'd never been to New York, she invited him. I felt guilty for being upset about it, but I was still bothered by how he looked at her during his wife's wake. What added to my frustration was that nobody consulted me to see if it was okay. I kept quiet about it because it was such a sensitive matter. My girlfriend was in frequent contact with him leading up to his visit. I would come home from work and see them FaceTiming, discussing various places they planned to go. When he arrived, the calls and texts became even more frequent. This level of communication wasn't there before the funeral, and it made me uneasy. I didn't know how to address the situation or what to say about it. I realized that no matter what I said, I might come off as insensitive because both of them were still grieving. Joe finally arrived in the city, and my girlfriend and I assisted him in settling into our apartment. Since my girlfriend worked from home, and I worked just a few blocks away, she was going to be alone with him most of the time he was there. Mike was telling me not to trust it. I hadn't seen any direct signs that something was going on between them. Still, I had this gut feeling that their relationship had changed significantly since the funeral, and it bothered me. My imagination started running wild, thinking about the conversations they might have had over text or when I wasn't around. My girlfriend looked exactly like her sister, and I couldn't shake the worry that Joe might be attracted to her, maybe even always had been. One afternoon while I was at work, I sent my girlfriend a text asking if she wanted me to grab food on my way home. Normally, she'd reply within half an hour, even if she was in a meeting. However, this time, she didn't respond at all. I started to get a bit worried, so I left work a couple of hours early to go home and make sure everything was all right. As I approached the door, I heard some very alarming noises on the other side. It was evident that someone was having intimate relations in the apartment. As quietly as possible, I inserted my key into the door and opened it, only to find my girlfriend wearing one of her sister's dresses, engaged in an intimate moment on the couch with Joe. They noticed me, and she swiftly got off him, hurriedly fixing herself before following me down the hallway. As soon as I witnessed it, I was done with her. My suspicions were confirmed, and I didn't need to say anything before I walked away to catch the elevator. She slipped through the door and began attempting to explain herself. I didn't want to hear her out, but I felt trapped and had no choice. She told me that Joe was there for her during her grieving, and it just happened the first time. She swore she didn't expect it to happen again while he was visiting. They talked about it, both acknowledging it was wrong, but it just happened again. I could sense she was lying, so I asked to see her phone. She seemed almost shocked that I asked. It was clear she wasn't expecting me to challenge her on it. When I checked her phone and found the text messages between them, it confirmed that she was indeed lying. She apologized as I read through all the messages, but deep down, I knew that it wouldn't make a difference. Before her sister's funeral, my girlfriend and Joe got together. She was at their house helping him find a dress for her sister's funeral, and she tried it on to see how it looked because they looked similar. She told me that Joe saw her, and something changed in his mind, because she resembled his wife so much. They had sex for the first time while she was trying on dresses for her sister's burial. After that, they developed a very strange bond, where he practically pretended that my girlfriend was his deceased wife. It was seriously messed up, and the more she explained, the more disturbed I became. By the time we got off the elevator, Joe was catching up to us in the lobby of the apartment complex. It took everything in me not to run and attack him. I restrained myself and told my girlfriend I never wanted to see her again. I strongly recommended they both go to therapy because what they did was beyond troubling. I went to a friend's house to figure out what to do about where I lived. I didn't want to stay in the apartment where I saw all that happen. While thinking about it, I knew I wanted to expose them. They weren't going to make a fool out of me and act like nothing happened. I felt enough time had passed since her sister's death to tell everyone how the two closest people in her life betrayed her after she died. I created a group chat with almost her entire family, excluding her and Joe. I composed a message explaining everything my girlfriend had told me. They were furious when they heard, and many of them didn't even believe what I said. I had people calling me, shouting, accusing me of lying and making up terrible things. I swore to them that it was the truth. While all this was happening, my girlfriend bombarded my phone with calls and texts, asking if I had spilled the beans to her family about her and Joe. Seeing that I had accomplished what I wanted, I blocked all of them. After that, it wasn't my problem anymore. A few days later, I returned to my apartment to gather my things, and I noticed Joe was still there. He looked like he wanted to harm me and yelled about how he couldn't even go back to his place without fearing that my girlfriend's family would retaliate against him. I didn't care, I just packed my things and left. Since then, I haven't spoken to my girlfriend or any of her family members. I moved into a new apartment and started my life over. I feel like I wasted a lot of time being with the wrong person, and now I have to begin again. Reaction: I can't believe you had to go through that tough situation. It seems like you were really patient with your girlfriend because of her sadness. You had a feeling something was wrong but tried to give her the space she needed. I always believe you should listen to your gut when it says something's not right. In this case, your gut feeling was correct. I don't get how your girlfriend was okay with acting like her sister with her husband. The way they act is strange, and they both need a lot of counseling to deal with their problems. What they did was not right and really unhealthy. Your girlfriend's family should know about it, especially considering it would have upset your girlfriend's sister. The fact that they got sympathy and apologies for their loss while betraying her is sad. I know you gave a lot to that relationship, but I hope you can move on and find someone who is loyal. I wish you the best moving forward.